sit down somewhere?
Mom, he's picking on me.
If you know your party's extension, please dial it now.
Houston, we have a problem.
Sick of all this complaining all the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Welcome everyone to Multitasking in Heels, your safe space, if you will, to share all of your hilarious and harrowing tales of trying to juggle your crazy life, but still looking fabulous. We're your hosts, Liz and Lindsay, and thank you guys so much for joining us today. So Linz, tell us about your week. How was it?
It was trying.
It was trying. Aren't they all?
Just like this morning. Liz and I have been at about an hour of tech checks and craziness. And I think it's because there is a full moon tonight for everyone. It is, by the time you listen to this we pre-record like most podcasts do, but this is Halloween night and full moons let the crazies out.
Yep.
And I think Mercury is still in retrograde, which also makes all tech challenges even more challenging. So that's what we've been up to this morning.
We had a morning of what can go wrong will go wrong. So we'll just see how this goes.
Yeah. So Liz, should we kick off Pump and Flat?
Yeah. Do you want to share your highs and lows of the week?
Sure, because there was a lot of lows, but let's try and kick off the pump moment.
Yes, always have to remember the pump moments.
So my pump moment was hilarious, and it started on an insurance call, which you wouldn't think those are too funny.
Yeah.
We had an insurance call at work for we have to get certificates of insurance for shooting. I'm in production and we have to get coverage for a lot of different things. And we had our risk management officer on the phone, which is always a little scary because you feel like you're going to get yelled at any moment that you're not doing the right thing. And she's a very nice lady, but she's very serious, as you would think.
Well, yes, yeah,
for that job. So, as has been happening in COVID, you have back-to-back meetings, and my whole team showed up on time, which was awesome, and I was 2 minutes late. And I guess the risk manager was asking for me. And so my team's either texting me or teamsing me, where are you? But I was 2 minutes late.
Right.
That's not that bad, unlike when you're going from meeting to meeting. So they're like, they're asking for you. I'm like,
God forbid you have to go to the bathroom in between 4 hours of conference calls.
That's another thing. So I get on, the meeting starts. It's the second meeting of this big insurance talk. Everyone's kind of upset because there was a lot of rules put in that we didn't know about. But fast forward, we get into international conversation. And we do a lot of work out in the country. And so we start talking about where. And I said, well, we work a lot in Colombia. And the risk manager goes, Lindsay, what do you do in Colombia? And
Would you think you were like a drug mule or something?
Well,
like that?
this is kind of where. So I started kind of giggling because I was like, there's only one reason we're on this call.
Right.
And it's about production. So I was kind of giggling like, well, should I, I felt almost like Liam Neeson, this group has a special set of skills. And so I said, we shoot, we shoot. And then I was like, is that a good choice of words?
Right.
We're talking about Colombia, but whatever. And she goes, can you tell me more? And I said, we do shoots down there. This is the normal conversations we have. So then we started, she goes, well, what is this business? I'm like, it's a production business. And then I said, okay, well, I was trying to get more serious about it because, and I said, we've worked with them for a very long time. They have business also in Miami.
Oh dear, you're just digging yourself deeper.
As you can see where this is going. In Miami and in Mexico. And as I'm saying this, cameras are starting to go off. I'm losing my team because they are realizing, and I'm hearing, and then the audios are going off. And I'm not realizing it quite yet because I'm in my head going, this is like, this company's awesome. We've been working with them for so long. And then as I'm seeing like the fifth camera go off and the audio go off, I'm like, okay, now I think I might have like tipped the scale. And then I'm seeing the risk manager's face like go. And so then I said, oh, no. Okay. I see where you're going. No. And I said, oh, they also traffic for us.
Oh, dear God, Lindsay. You've seen enough episodes of Narcos to probably know better than that.
Media trafficking, media. And I didn't, because I was so flustered, like watching, because I was watching all the cameras go off and the audio go off. And I forgot the word media because I was like, what is happening? Why is this happening? And my whole team put their cameras back on at the same time, and then everyone lost it.
I bet.
And then one of my teammates said, is now a good time to tell you that I work in China a lot too?
That is perfect.
And thankfully, this woman had an amazing sense of humor. And she said, I am thankful that you guys make insurance fun because it's usually really boring. And I was so thankful.
That's hysterical.
And then right after that call, I had a meeting with one of my high up bosses, and I was still giggling. And he's like, what's so funny? And I'm like, I probably should let you know this just in case you get a call. You know, just in case
it comes up in conversation.
And I wasn't sure how he would take it. And he started laughing and he goes, well, that's hilarious. And he said, yeah, we do shoot in really random places that might be questionable to people up high.
Right.
So it is what it is.
Oh my God.
So
that's amazing. And if you can get a good laugh like that at work on an insurance call, you take it.
it was hysterical.
That's
and
great.
That's the one thing that like everyone had a really hard week. And every single team member was like, thank you so much. I needed this so badly. And it was, you know, and then of course there was like hilarious conversations on the side. Like, I need one certificate for Pablo Escobar's gold toilet, you know, like how do you ensure that? So it was very, very funny.
Oh my gosh.
My flat moment of the week was we use Microsoft Teams at work, and they need a better UX. Their interface on the Teams threads only show you a few names on a thread, or just like one name if you're not totally paying attention and or you're multitasking, like this whole podcast is about. And one of my direct reports was writing to me about getting on a meeting for a client and could I make it? And I said, I was looking at my schedule and I said, oh, sure, but I need to look at it again because I might be getting back from the gyno at that time. Fun times, you know, just normal that she's a close direct report and she's a lady and she would understand that. And there was crickets for a while, and she usually would say, great, cool, totally get it. And I looked back and was like, why didn't I hear from her? And there were two young men on that thread, two of my favorite creatives. And I about died of humiliation. And they are young family men.
Okay.
They are both raising young women.
Okay.
So while I was mortified and felt horrible and awkward, they both were so kind and so nice about it. But it was truly a flat moment while I was sweating profusely, saying, oh my gosh, this is like such a horrible work moment of like.
When you're doing too much and you're not like processing what you're doing and you don't have time to double check and like, that's just the story of our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were so cool about it, but a lot of funny memes going back and forth, like the Homer Simpson where he's like goes back into the bushes and he's like, nothing to see here. And, but they were really nice and it was just super embarrassing. So,
I hear you.
There you go. What are yours?
So my pump moment of the week actually came to me courtesy of Instagram. It was an article posted by All Things Comedy, and it was a story about a guy in Kansas who ran into a convenience store naked, covered in ranch dressing, and then proceeded to trash the convenience store, run outside, jump in his car, and then crash into a pole. That was the article. And there were a lot of unanswered questions for me, like why ranch dressing? Are you concerned it's going to clog your pores? It's, I don't know, like where did you get the ranch dressing? You went into the convenience store already wearing it, all of that. So I just got a good chuckle out of that. And there was, in the article, a police officer was quoted as saying, "We are happy to report that no one was injured during this incident." But I'm going to have to go ahead and beg to differ, officer, because if anybody had to witness that abomination, they are permanently scarred for life, even if it is only emotionally. So clearly this poor guy was under the influence of something, and that I feel bad about. But the story, like the visual of someone running into a convenience store naked, covered in ranch dressing, just gave me a little chuckle.
How did, there's so many questions here, Liz.
Yes, did he disrobe in the car? Did he drive naked to the store? I don't know. And that's why I was a little disappointed there weren't more details.
Yeah. Why ranch dressing? Was that his favorite condiment? Why not mustard?
Right. I know.
So bizarre.
So bizarre. And the poor officer who had to cuff him. Oh,
I would be gagging.
Yes.
That smell would be.
I mean, do you think they hosed him off before they put him in the back of the squad car?
They probably couldn't.
Oh God, the humanity.
Oh wow.
So as we sit here, I'm like, that really shouldn't have been my pump moment, but it did make me laugh. It made me laugh.
And that's all we need right now.
Yes. And my flat moment was having a little mini, not breakdown, but just realization that, so now fall sports are over for my kids and we're going to enter into this desert of nothingness for them to do on the weekends, which is really giving me a lot of anxiety because they would all be playing basketball this winter and one of them would do track too. And, we'd have stuff going on during the week and on the weekends. And now there's literally nothing. And it snowed. It's Halloween. There's snow on the ground. So I have a feeling we're in for a really long winter and I'm concerned just about their mental health. I mean, it's not good for them to not have things to do and to not see people and not be involved in activities. And I worry a little bit less about my daughter because she has a bunch of friends that we get together with play dates on a pretty regular basis. So she stays pretty social and she's also creative and really good about doing things independently and playing with her Barbies or drawing or whatever. But the boys, I mean, if they don't get out of the house and get exercise,
they're crazy.
Yeah, they're crazy. And it's and I don't know if your son is
yes.
this, but by 6 p.m., it's someone unleashed a gaggle of rabid raccoons in my house.
Yes.
And it's just this swirl of running and jumping and everything becomes like a jungle gym or a trampoline or whatever. And then there's wrestling. And I don't deal well with that type of chaos and noise, especially at the end of the day when I
need to decompress.
Yes, exactly. My switch is going off and their switches are going on.
Yeah.
So I'm just worried, it's just, again, not healthy. After what we went through in the spring and seeing how negatively that affected my my kids and their emotional state and all that. So just trying to find whatever we can do to keep them busy and still connected socially and all that. Is
And
just,
active.
and I think every parent is worried about that, because I think we're, right now in this kind of very delicate balance of, okay, things that seem to be okay, but if COVID cases get worse and things get shut down. So, just trying our best to do what we can when we can.
Yes.
Easier said than done.
I agree. And the whole thing with, I remember my husband one time, I said, I think our son is over stimulated with too many things to do.
Yep.
And he said, okay, well, this is what his choice is, but also, have you noticed the days when sports are canceled?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, do you like those days? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because he does. He's a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
He can't relax. He
Yep.
won't sit and read a book.
No.
He only does that at night sometimes for like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
It's not good. Boys
No.
can't go without exercise and
Some outlet.
yes.
So I actually thought about getting like a heavy bag or whatever and hanging it in the basement and just having them go down there and just hit it. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to figure this out, because we just can't go, 4 months of nothing.
No, I agree.
So anyway, that was my flat moment. I think we're all as parents having those types of moments lately with our kids in this COVID situation. So should we get into our topic?
Yes, I
of
think
the
we
week?
should.
All right. So Lindsay and I we thought a good topic for this podcast would be fertility, or in our cases, lack thereof. IVF. We both went through IVF for different reasons and with different results. And I think IVF is a lot more common than most people probably think these days. I read an article online yesterday that 1 in 8 couples will struggle with infertility. And since this technology was founded in the mid 80s, over 1 million babies have been born in the US alone as a result of IVF. So it's a pretty miraculous, technology, for lack of a better term. But I think that there's still a little bit of a stigma attached to it, and people feeling comfortable discussing it. So if this is something that you've been through, you're going through, you're thinking about going through, there's no stigma attached to it. However you get to your journey of parenthood is your story. Not have been the journey you thought you were going to take, but it was the journey you were meant to take. So
Yes.
for me, my journey to motherhood actually started off super easy. My husband and I had been married for 4 or 5 years. We already bought a house in the burbs, and we had been having conversations like, hey, it's probably time to start a family, blah, blah, blah. So this is how it went down. I said, hey, how we've been talking about maybe trying to have a baby? He's like, yeah. And I said, I'm pretty sure I'm ovulating. So you just want to knock this out right now? And he's like, all right, boom, knocked up. No joke. That's how it happened. So so we have our son. And when our son is about 18 months old, we decide, all right, it's time for baby number 2, because I live my life according to Excel spreadsheets and checklists. And we were going to have 2 children, and they were going to be around 2.5 years apart, and then we were going to be done. Right. So we start trying, and I'm thinking it's going to be just as easy as last time. Nothing. I go see my doctor after maybe 4 or 5 months, and his medical advice to me was, have more sex. Super.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like transactional, right? It's a means to an end. So we keep trying. And then I find out I'm pregnant, and it's, maybe 8 months after we had initially decided we were going to try. And we find out I'm pregnant about 2 weeks before we're supposed to stay in a rental house with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and their 2 kids up the street from my in-laws' house. So it would be too soon to share the news with anybody. So we talked about, all right, well, we'll just have to figure out how to hide it and be discreet and all of that. And so, okay, no problem. Day we leave for vacation, get the car all packed, hit the road. And as we're going over the Bourne Bridge, I just feel something. And it's like that feeling you get when you are like in a meeting and you're like, oh my God, did I just get my period? Like that feeling. And I knew instantly something was wrong. And this was 10 years ago, and I can still remember that moment like it was yesterday.
Mhm.
And I crossed that stupid bridge a lot of times in the summer, and I think about it every time I cross that bridge.
Oh.
So I didn't say anything to Danny. He was driving, and we had our son in the back seat, and so we get to the rental house, and I just threw my bags down. I was like, I have to go to the bathroom, and I ran into the bathroom, and I was bleeding. So at this point, we are supposed to be at his parents' house in a half an hour for dinner. It's a Saturday, so I knew I could call the doctor, but I'd just get their messaging service or whatever. So I said to Danny, I was like, I'm bleeding. And he goes, is that normal? I was like, no, dummy. I'm pregnant. It's not normal.
Did you have a feeling that you knew what was happening?
Yeah, it was just, it was 8 weeks along. So it was still early, it wasn't this traumatic thing or whatever, but yeah, I just knew. I just knew this wasn't going to stop. So I said, I need to call the doctor. So I leave a message with the answering service, and then just kind of start unpacking and getting organized and whatever. And then it's time to go up to his parents for dinner. And I'm trying to put
a smile
on my face and at least I had a toddler with me who I can chase after and not have to get locked down in some
weird
mindless conversation. Yeah. Exactly. So we're in their backyard, barbecuing. My phone rings. It's the doctor on call calling me back, and I tell her what's going on. And she said, yeah, I'm really sorry. She said, it does sound like you're having a miscarriage. And so we made an appointment for me to go in on Monday just to, meet with my doctor and confirm what we probably already knew. I hang up the phone, and it's time for family dinner. So I go in, sit down. I somehow
have a big glass of wine, or at that point,
no, I didn't want to drink until I knew for sure. And I just felt disgusting and sick and sad and all of that. And so I somehow make it through dinner with small talk and whatever. And then after dinner, I just make an excuse and say that I have a really bad headache, so I'm going to go lie down. And I took our son back up to the rental house, and then Danny joined me a little while later, and he said, what did the doctor say? And I said, she said, I'm probably having a miscarriage. And I just broke down and just started sobbing. And he hugs me. And I swear to God, Lindsay, he must have Googled everything not to say to someone when they're having a miscarriage, because he was like, well, it wasn't meant to be. At least, you can get pregnant. We can always try again. We already have a healthy child. And I'm like, I am fucking devastated here. And you are reciting like shitty platitudes from a gas station greeting card? Like, shut the fuck up. So yeah. So that was that. It made for a memorable family vacation. Yeah, I went to the doctor on Monday, confirmed everything. And, I made him share the news with his parents. I was like, you have to tell them, like, I'm not going to pretend for a week that I'm happy in a good mood. Like, I don't want to discuss this with them, but I just want them to know. Yeah. And I told my poor sister-in-law, who is the sweetest human being on the planet, that I actually felt guilty when I was telling her. The next day I said, hey, Suze, I know I've been a little off, the past day or so. And she's like, oh God, don't even worry about it. You don't owe me any explanation. I was like, no, I should tell you what's going on. And I was like, I'm having a miscarriage, like right now, like as we stand here, I'm having one. And I felt so bad for her, because she was like, oh, she's so sweet and so sensitive. And she started crying, and then I started crying. And I was actually grateful to have her
with you there. And to be able to,
because just as, we went for a long walk and talked. So just as a woman, I mean, she hadn't gone through one, but she's a mother, she can understand, so it was, I think probably if I was going to happen, having her there was, was a good source of support. So after that, I was, thought to myself, like, enough is enough. We've been trying, I want to have a baby. We're going alternative methods here. So I Googled reproductive endocrinologists and found my doctor, who I refer to as the baby maker, because she has helped several people I know, aside from myself, make babies. And the day I met her, I was like, this is karma, because her story was the same as mine. She had her son, no problem at all. And then they went to try again a couple years later, nothing. She had to go through IVF to get pregnant, and she ended up with twin boys. So I just felt like instantly connected to her. She had this compassionate, manner about her. And she's like, I see no reason why we can't get you pregnant. And she laid out all the options. And the first of which was IUI, which for those of you out there who don't know what that is, it's artificial insemination.
Turkey baster.
So they take the sperm and they inject it into your fallopian tube, and hopefully the magic happens. And I figured, oh yeah, like let's definitely do that. I've been pregnant twice. Like I just need to have the sperm and the egg meet at the dance and do their thing, and no big deal. And it's like the least invasive thing. You don't have to do shots, nothing. So I did that. I did 2 rounds of that and 2 failed rounds of that. And you find out they failed because you get your period. And I don't know about you, but I feel like every time I got my period and realized I wasn't pregnant, it was at the worst time.
Oh yeah.
One of which was on a business trip in Houston for my second IUI, I think it was. Back then I had to travel a lot for work doing sales presentations. So this time I was in Houston. We were at a Starbucks prepping for our presentation at the prospective client's office down the street. And so I went to the restroom before we were leaving, and lo and behold, got my period. And so I knew obviously the cycle had failed and I couldn't do anything about, like, I had to go present at this meeting, and I'm with a bunch of dudes and no one I really knew all that well. So it's not even like I could be like, oh my God, this is happening to me. So I go present during the meeting, go straight to the airport afterwards. And I was grateful that I was flying home by myself and no one else from my company was with me, because it was a nighttime flight. So like the second those lights went off in the airplane and it was dark, I just like cried by myself and like have to ride home. So after that, Danny and I talked about it and I said, let's go with IVF. Like enough is enough. Like, because every time something fails, you have to wait. And
you have to wait another month or something to like have it like die down and then come back up.
Yes. Yep. And that's the worst part of it all. When you're in the cycles, you at least have something to do or another appointment or something like that. Between the cycles is the worst because you feel like this is wasted time. I could be trying to have a baby or I could be pregnant or all that.
Yes.
So we decided we're going to go IVF and we start all the tests and everything for both of us. Everything comes back fine. There should be no reason why this doesn't work. And I think statistically speaking, there's like a 30% at that. I think I was 36, 37 when we started IVF. There's a 30% chance of success, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I was having 0% chance of success trying everything else. So we start with all the shots. And the shots didn't really bother me at all, even though like over a period of time, I would have bruises on my legs and my stomach and my arms and all that.
I have the same story.
Yes.
And you look like you've been battered and beaten.
Yes, you do. But I was like, this is a means to an end. This is a means to an end. Like we can get through this. And so the point of the shots, again, for folks who have not gone through this, is to build up your follicles. So you, instead of having one egg to fertilize, you can get a lot of eggs to fertilize. So after, 2 weeks of all the various shots, which, some of them you have to mix together. We must have watched countless YouTube videos to make sure that we were doing it the right way. And you have to give the shots at the same time every day. And, we were so paranoid that we were going to miss a time, or we weren't going to put the shot in the right place, or we weren't going to mix it properly. And it's like, it's this scientific medical thing that you're doing in your own home, which is really weird.
It is.
And so it was time, after I went for an ultrasound, it was time for my egg retrieval, and you have to give yourself that trigger. They call it the trigger shot, which is this ginormous needle. And they give you like a very specific time to give the trigger shot. And they're like, all right, at 11:37 p.m. tonight, like you have to do your trigger shot. And if you don't do it then, yes, in your butt. So someone else has to, or at least Danny did mine. My
mother-in-law did mine. She was a nurse.
All right, I would have trusted her then.
Because my husband was like, no, I'm not going to do it. It looks way too scary.
That's what my husband said.
And I was like, if you fuck this up, this is over. Like, and we were out here and my mother-in-law was like, I'll do it. And I was like, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I was like, pulled my drawers down. I'm like, all right, it's time. And he's
that one hurt too.
It does hurt. It does. And he looked at the needle and he freaked out and he's like, yes, gigantic. And he said, this needle's huge, hun. And I said, I know. it is what it is. And he said, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt you. And I was like, if you don't give me the fucking shot, I'm going to hurt you. It's just like, I'm fine. Just do it. But again, like, I think we watched the YouTube video like 9 times because it's an exact, like a very specific spot on your butt. That you have to do it. So
like in the muscle. Yes.
And you only have one shot. You fuck it up. That's it.
And it's an expensive
It is. Yes. So he did that. I go for my egg retrieval the next day. They get 19 eggs. And I know. And the day after the retrieval, I definitely felt like, a little wonky in that area. And I fertilized, I think 13, and then they chose to implant. And the whole process is kind of cool because they actually show you the pictures of your embryos and they show you, all right, these 2 are the best. They're the most symmetrical, you know, blah, blah, blah. So they implant the two embryos and I make my appointment for my pregnancy test 2 weeks later, which I didn't need because on day 12, got my period. And that was devastating. It really, like, I went in to meet with my doctor after that. And she said, I'm really surprised this didn't work, Liz. She said, I thought for sure it would. And she said, I'm going to, meet with my team and maybe we'll adjust some of the meds for the next round. If that's what you want, you want to keep going. I'm like, we're going to keep going. But she looked at me and she said, I will get you pregnant. And then I just like lost it. And so we went through the process all over again and implanted 2 embryos. And I made my pregnancy appointment. And like, I was so nervous those last couple days leading up to the appointment that I felt like every time, like I was so nervous every time I went to the bathroom. I'm like, there's going to be blood there. There's going to be blood there, but there wasn't. And I made it to my appointment. And sure enough, I was knocked up. And they tell you, what your HCG levels are, and the higher the levels, kind of the more viable or stronger the pregnancy is. And there's a pretty wide range there, but I went home and I Googled what my HCG levels were based on the blood test. And I was like, those are really high. There might be more than one in there. But it was still within the normal range, but could be. So I went a few days, I can't remember, it was like a few days later or the following week, I had to go for my ultrasound. And I'm in there and I'm by myself. I go to all these appointments. Unless I need Danny's sperm, he doesn't have to come to the appointment. Like I can do all this by myself.
I'm the same way.
Right?
Yeah.
So the ultrasound technician is like, oh, yep, here's 1 embryo. And here's 2 embryos. And I was like, sorry, what? And I remember at that moment feeling like I was in someone else's life. Like I was in it. And granted, we chose to put the 2 embryos in, but
there's always a chance one's not going to.
Yes. So I just felt like right then on there, I'm living in a dream. Like this is someone else's life. Again, I was supposed to have 2 kids, 2.5 years apart. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what is going on. So I leave, I go to check out at the nurse's desk and they're like, did you hear? Twins. I'm like, shut up, you're making it real. So, and they were so lovely and so excited for me, but I was like,
still in shock.
My God. Yeah. And I get in the car because I have to go to work now.
Did you start crying again?
I called, like I was shaking and I called my husband at work and I'm like, and he's like, how'd the appointment go? I'm like, oh, there's 2 of them. He's like, what? I go, twins, we're having twins. And he goes, what the fuck? And then I got pissed because I was freaking out. I needed him to be excited about it to make me feel better.
Yes.
But that didn't happen. He was freaked out about it. I was freaked out about it. I go to work. I can't even focus. And there was a woman I work with. I love her so much. She's just one of the best human beings on the planet. She knew what I was going through. I had to tell someone. I told her. And I said, granted, I'm like 5 minutes pregnant here, but like I'm freaking out. So I'll be honest, like there were some dark days a couple weeks after we found out we were having twins. Again, it wasn't something we had planned for. We knew it was a possibility, but not something we thought would be a reality.
Right.
I worried about what is this going to do to my oldest? We planned on giving him 1 sibling. Now he's going to have 2 baby. I just worried kind of what that would do to him. I worried like we can afford 2 kids in daycare. Can we afford 3 kids in daycare? So just logistically, do we have the right car? What is this? All
crazy
those things. And how am I going to take care of 2 babies at the same time? And it was like, we almost didn't talk about it for a little while.
Because it was too scary.
It was too scary. But then, we obviously we were thrilled to be pregnant. We were thrilled that everything seemed to be healthy and whatnot. And once we started telling people, that definitely helped because everybody was so excited. And now, I mean, fast forward, you know, my twins are 8, and I witnessed so many amazing, and still to this day, but when they were infants, just so many amazing moments as a mother, the way they interacted with each other. I mean, they shared a bedroom for 5 years and they still have sleepovers. They love each other so much. They just have this incredible bond that, you know, again, going back to what I said at the beginning, whatever your journey is to parenthood and whatever your family looks like, it probably isn't what you thought it was going to look like, but it's what was meant to be. And so for me, this is what's meant to be. And it, you know, it was like, there are some speed bumps along the way, but you know, my kids are amazing and I'm really lucky.
Yes.
So that's my story.
I love everything you said, because there's some similarities to how we got there. And I definitely think that this stigma should be taken away from it, because there's so many women and families that we know that have been going through this. Like, once we started talking about this more, every single person that we know, except I think 2 of our friends, have gone through this.
Yep.
And not just gone through this, but gone through this multiple times.
Yep.
One of our friends, I think, went through this 9 times. So, you know, the more that I've talked to people, the more they're like, why don't people talk about this more? So mine was different than yours. And, you know, I always like to go back to, you spend your entire sexual awakening trying not to get pregnant, only to, when you start a family, going, okay, we're ready, and then you can't. And that is like the biggest rub and worst part of this whole deal. So mine started that I have endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome. So when we started trying to get pregnant, I went straight to my doctor and said, is this going to work? Because I have 2 strikes against me already. And he said, probably not. So why don't we, you know, give you Clomid and some other medicines to try and get you there first, faster. And it didn't work. It made me feel gross and bloated, and it made my polycystic ovarian syndrome get worse. He said, skip IUI altogether, go straight to IVF. So when that was our option, my husband's father, we were in Idaho. We were living in Idaho at the time. And we felt that the medical situation there wasn't going to be as good as it was in Massachusetts. And so my father-in-law and mother-in-law were like, why don't you come to Massachusetts, where they have better IVF doctors, and we were going to be paying more out of pocket, but our chances were going to probably be a lot better. So we agreed to it, and there was a lot of flying back and forth in the beginning, but it was worth it to us. And so the beginning, we were getting our medicine and our shots off of online. And, you know, that's scary, because are we getting counterfeit meds to start this whole entire thing? Like, that could be the loss of the entire experiment.
Right. You're just blindly injecting yourself with this stuff and hoping for the best.
And so, you know, we talked to our doctor. She was amazing. She went through IVF too. And she said, you know, these are reputable companies in England. We got the shots, bruises, refrigerating your shots.
Yes.
So everything was good. Came to Massachusetts, made sure I got the time off for work, took my vacation days at a certain time. And knew that going into it, it would be tough, but because I was in my early 30s, they were like, you're going to be good to go. And we had this plan with our doctor that we would implant 2 embryos.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's always that chance that one is not going to make it. And there's always the chance that one could split.
Yes.
Massachusetts and the place we went with had a better average of not having multiples, which that is always, you know, in some lesser places, you get an average of more multiples.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the one thing that Brian and I did our research, that we weren't going to try and have multiples.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we made this plan with her. It was all good going in. So go in for the day of the retrieval, and I had 27 eggs.
Holy cow, Lindsay.
And I did not feel good down there, like you said. And
wow.
The other thing that I felt really bad about is that when you're in the hospital, there's only little thin curtains to like block you from the other ladies that are in there.
Yeah, it's like a cattle, like
it's,
yeah.
Yes.
It's not private.
It's not private at all. And this poor woman next to me, they're like, she got 2 eggs retrieved. And she heard mine and I heard hers. And it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, like I wanted to share my eggs with her. But at the same time, I stopped it cold in my tracks going, but that's my baby.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And it was just like, so like, because the doctor was like, oh my gosh, you got 27 eggs and they're all A and B grades.
Wow.
And like, I didn't know if 27 was good or bad. Like that, I had no concept there. I knew grades. I was like, oh, A's and B's sound good. But then when they went next door and they're like, you have 2, I was like, 27 is a lot better than 2.
Right.
So I like, it was just an awful process. And after that day, I felt awful, like extremely awful. And they're like, well, and I called the doctor back and they're like, well, it's just because you had 27 eggs. That's a lot and blah, 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 blah. So then I forget how long you go back to get the.
A few days later for the implantation.
Yes. So I get the big shot before you go in, and I feel horrendous, Liz. Horrendous. And they're like, well, you probably have a little bit of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, which when
it's dangerous.
Yeah. When you go through IVF, you read up on all this stuff. That's the thing you don't want to get. That if you have a bit of it, they'll still go through with it if it's very mild case. But if you have it bad, they won't, because you don't have a chance of implantation. And I felt pretty bad, to tell you the truth. And it feels like the flu. It feels like a horrible case of being hungover. And Brian and his mother-in-law went with me, and I said, I feel like absolute dog shit. And Brian's like, well, what do you want to do? And here I am facing to be out 12K, you know? And all the stuff we just went through for months. And I'm like, I can do this. I can do this for the family. And like, but literally feeling like close to death and crap. So we get into the room, and my doctor's not there. It's another doctor, which we were warned could happen, but that's just like a top like of me feeling like crap. And this doctor goes, oh yeah, you probably have mild OHSS right now. And I was like, well, it feels more than mild to me. And he goes, well, it's your choice. Like, he wasn't very nice.
Oh my God.
His bedside manner sucked. And so I'm looking at Brian, like pleading with him to say it's okay that we don't do
Mhm.
this, kind of. but
Yeah.
It's also
I
$12,000, and you're just
And how
like,
awful. It's like you're expected to make that call as you're sitting there, like, and all you want to do is get pregnant. And you know, if you say, I can't do this right now, then you're starting this process all over again and you're just delaying. And but
it was like Sophie's choice.
Mhm.
It really was. It was no baby
Yeah.
or baby,
Mhm.
maybe.
Right.
And
no medical advice on what you should do.
And my doctor was a very caring person
Mhm.
that could have like talked me through it better.
Yeah.
This guy was a total dick.
Oh.
And he said, and we're only going to implant one, which in the long run was probably the better medical
Mhm.
decision at that time because I was so sick.
Yep.
But he didn't choose that because I was sick. He chose that because I was younger. And he goes,
Okay.
you're younger and you're fine. And Brian was mad actually too. And he said, but that wasn't what we talked about with our doctor. That wasn't our plan. And he goes, well, I'm doing this right now and she's young and she's fine. So we're literally getting rolled into the hospital room. And the only like good omen was that the nurse was my mom's name and she was super nice.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's the only like good omen for me right now that this could be okay. So we get implanted, and we also had our doctor had told us that doing acupuncture after the retrieval and or the retrieval and the implantation had better results. So we went to the acupuncturist after the implantation,
Mhm.
who looks like a Asian Tina Turner.
Oh my God.
She was amazing. The very first time I went into her office smelled like weed.
Oh my
and
God.
This is way before Massachusetts. It was ever legal. And she's hilarious, wears like leather pants
Mhm.
and just crazy.
What a riot.
And the last thing I wanted to do was go to another appointment after this. I'm in the office and this elderly man is sitting next to my mother-in-law and says, is that your daughter? Because we kind of look similar.
Mhm.
And my mother-in-law goes, no, that's my daughter-in-law. And he goes, she looks really bad. She looks like she needs help.
Oh my gosh.
And
did
I
you just
will
feel never-
horrible
in that moment? Oh my God.
And I'll never forget that.
Wow.
And for someone, a stranger,
Mm-hmm.
to say that to another person, like completely, like that's how bad I was doing. So fast forward to that night, I was so sick. I threw up all night long. I didn't want to wake up my in-laws or Brian. They get up really early, and I was on the couch, and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they got me to the emergency room, and I was promptly taken to the hospital. And from there on, I was checked in and out of the hospital for 2 months.
Wow.
And I ended up with ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. And my HCG levels were super high because that booster shot is an HCG shot. So for 2 months, I had third spacing in my body, which is where from the neck to the top of the thighs, you get water, liquid that won't go anywhere else. So I look like a Cabbage Patch Kid from here to the upper thighs. And what it does is, because there's so much liquid, it shuts down, it starts shutting down your organs. So every 3 days they had to take me down to another level to put a pericentesis, which is a super long needle, and draw the liquid out. And it looked like I was like running my own brewery, because they put it into big jugs that looked like it came from a brewery. and I would fill 10 to 13 jugs with just the liquid inside my body.
Oh my God.
And then my body would go back to its like semi-normal shape.
And then it would just fill up again?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And so it was the craziest time. And some of the stuff I can remember very clearly, and some I can't because I just blocked it out.
Yeah.
And the one thing that was nuts was that because Brigham and Women's was a teaching hospital,
Oh yeah.
it was like an episode of
You're
Grey's
just
Anatomy.
on display.
I was on display for everybody. They're
Yeah.
like, we haven't seen anything like this for
Mhm.
10 years.
Oh,
And
it's not what you want to hear from
No.
medical professionals.
no, because I was like, I do not want to be
Yeah.
an anomaly. And I would have to retell my story almost every day. And I'm tired and I don't feel good
Mhm.
and I'm sick. And
But the baby was okay this whole time? Like there was
we didn't know
Oh.
because the HCG levels were so high that they're like, it's just still the shot.
Okay.
And I didn't feel good. And besides that, I was being pumped full of drugs, Liz. Like major drugs, because I was dying
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
my organs were shutting
Yeah.
down.
Jesus.
So no one thought I had a baby.
Yeah.
Even at that point, just to be very clear, I didn't want a baby.
Yeah. You just wanted to survive.
I just wanted to survive. And they took me down to imaging and they took me down to other things. And I actually like almost became a zombie
Mhm.
because I was just like, I don't fucking care about anything.
Yeah. Did you take a leave of absence from work and whatnot?
I have to say that my work was so impressive and just said, we want you to survive
Yeah.
and come home. So at that point, there were the Grey's Anatomy analogy was
Mhm.
no exaggeration, because hot doctors would come in and out of our room on the rig. And one moment that I will never forget, Brian was sleeping about 2 feet away from me.
Mhm.
It was probably like 5 a.m. I actually was like asleep and could sleep that day. And it was one of the days that before they had drained me. So I was like full Cabbage Patch. And my business down there was full.
Oh my God.
And it looks like something out of a science project. And the hottest doctor that I had not seen before, on the level of McSteamy,
Mhm.
comes in, wakes me up. I'm like, one eye open, and he goes, hi. He goes, I just was supposed to come in here and check on you. I'm like, one, you've never checked on me.
Right.
Who are you? Am I dreaming? And he goes, I need to check everything. I'm really sorry. And I need to check down there. And I was like, at first I was like, this is a really good dream.
Mhm.
And then when he said I need to check down there, I was like, this is a
really
fucking
bad dream.
nightmare. And he checked, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, Brian, like I wanted Brian to wake up, but then I didn't. And then I was like, this is horrible.
Oh my God.
And he's like, okay, thank you. I'm like,
Oh, so degrading, right?
so degrading. I'm like, it was the worst thing that could possibly happen. So then about 2 days later after that,
Mhm.
some like jerky doctor, almost exactly like the guy who did our implantation, came in our room. And that was the other thing. There was just different doctors every
Yeah.
day. It wasn't like your regular doctor. He came in, he looked at my chart. As he was leaving, he goes, and by the way, congratulations. And Brian was sitting there watching the TV with me, and the doctor left the room.
Mhm.
And I was like half out of it,
Right.
because I was on drugs and whatever. And Brian and I looked at each other, and I go, he just said congratulations. Congratulations to what? Am I getting out of here?
Right.
What was that? And Brian chased him out of the room and was like, hey, what do you mean? Congratulations on what? And he goes, oh, you don't know? you're
Oh.
pregnant.
Oh my God, that's how you found out?
That is how we freaking found out.
Wow.
And then we didn't trust it.
Right, of course, because you didn't see an ultrasound, you didn't, God only knows.
And
Oh,
then he goes, oh yeah, the HCG, it's been long enough where your HCG shot has worn out and your fetus HCG has taken over. And then we didn't believe it
Right.
still. And then we were scared that our kid was going to become some crazy thing.
right.
Because of all the drugs, the paracentesis,
Mm-hmm.
everything else. And then I was still getting liquid taken out. And then I was scared, oh my God, that big needle could hit the fetus
Right.
at some point. So it was, to say the least, a huge roller coaster.
Oh my God.
I felt extremely lucky to have gotten pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
The ending of it was horrible because we had a $500,000 hospital bill
Oh my Lord.
that we thought was either going to bankrupt Brian and I,
Mm-hmm.
or we didn't know how we were going to get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
However, we proved that it was caused by IVF
Mm-hmm.
and OHSS, and not the pregnancy. And a lawyer in California helped us prove that. And so we got off with like smaller
Mm-hmm.
fines and paid our lawyer. Our lawyer was amazing
God.
because the insurance wasn't going to pay, and cherry picked a piece of evidence, and our lawyer found the actual piece, and he's like, oh well, if you read the rest of this,
Right.
they just cherry picked the top of it, the rest of it proves your case. It was
Oh my God.
the most trying,
Yes.
and that is honestly why we only have one child.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy with that. He's a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And to say the least, IVF is a very trying situation for most people. And it can also bring postpartum depression. And for me, also PTSD because of everything that happened. And so I had to also go through, interestingly enough, some therapy that they put like Navy SEALs and stuff
Wow.
through, which was really interesting, like light therapy and sound therapy, because the hospital, which I'm glad they did this, was really worried that I was going to have really bad postpartum depression because of what I went through in the hospital. And my doctor, who I love, my IVF doctor, made me do it.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not a therapy person, and I'm glad she made me, because there's a stigma around therapy and postpartum depression. And I went to like 5 or 6 sessions and did audio and light therapy. And I really do think that there's a little bit of postpartum depression that happens to all women after pregnancy because the hormones and how hard it is. And I don't think enough people talk about that as well.
Agreed.
But I think it could have been 10 times worse if I didn't do the light therapy and the audio therapy that she had me do.
So what was the difference between how you felt before the therapy and then after the therapy? What were your, I guess, realizations after you completed therapy about kind of your mental state?
I think that I wasn't in such a dark place. I think that I realized that I was hiding how dark it got for me and how like I almost died, and that I think I just came to the realization of like getting over that happened to me, because I tend to like bury that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's fine.
easier.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yes. Because we're accomplished women. we move on. We're like, oh, well, I have to get to this. I have to
Exactly.
do this.
Yeah.
So I just want to move on. And that's what my doctor knew I would probably do. And she was right. And she said, no, because when you have this baby, it's going to be 10 times harder.
Right.
And
thank God, because you have to mentally prepare to care for another human being.
Yes.
It's your first baby, and you don't even really know how to do that. So it's so taxing on you, even under the best of circumstances. You're sleep deprived, you're all hormonal. So regardless of going through a near-death experience, it's going to be difficult. So I'm so glad your doctor pushed that on you.
I'm so glad too, because I like fought it tooth and nail. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then after the first one where they ask you how you're feeling and all that stuff, I was like, Rrr. And then the second one, when we actually got into like the light therapy and stuff, I thought it was like kooky at first.
Yeah.
And then after it, I was like, wow, I feel like lighter already. And so there's something about it, obviously, that works for Navy SEALs. And I was like, it works for me.
But I think you bring up a really good point about the mental health aspect of infertility, postpartum depression, or even, just being mothers in general. I mean, I remember, when we started going through the IVF process or the IUI and whatnot on the failed cycles, Danny said, like, I think that you need to go talk to someone, because I was, like you said, in a really dark place. I was depressed. I was angry. I was resentful. I was ashamed when my body couldn't do what it was supposed to do. I felt like every time I turned around, another pregnant belly was hitting me in the face. I felt like, we had a lot of friends and other people in our lives, family members, who were getting pregnant with their third and sometimes fourth kids during that time. And I was just like, why them? Why them? And this is horrible, but I had a really hard time being genuinely happy for them. And I was like, I hope they have trouble losing the baby weight.
Yeah, no, and Liz,
was,
I think that's normal. I actually, it does. And I actually, I got into a really bad place with one of my old best friends. Because she had no problem getting pregnant and kept talking about her second one that was on the way. And I remember she was at my parents' house and kept talking about it. And I just felt like, if you're one of my best friends and you know how hard I'm having problems with, why would you do this?
Be a little more sensitive.
And I left my parents' house, and she was still there. And I was just like, I'm leaving right now, Mom. I can't take it. And I felt the same way. I felt like I was getting hit by, well, I have no problem getting pregnant.
Right.
And I'm like, it's fertile Myrtles against the infertile Myrtles.
Exactly.
And it is really hard. And it's hard. It was hard to be super happy and genuine for everybody that was around you, if they didn't show compassion towards you of what you were going through.
Agreed. All right, so should we lighten things up a little bit?
We should.
We did promise people that they would laugh during this podcast, so we have to bring some laughs. But I think that was a good, open, honest conversation. I hope people got something out of it. So Linz, what's in the box this week?
What's in the box this week? Well, what's in the box this week is this sign that we have to replace over your head because it is not in the frame, and we're going to put it over your shoulder next time. But
I know, my big pumpkin head.
No, it's not. It's just we placed it in the wrong spot. But it's the signs that people have and are popping up everywhere. The signs where the marquee signs where you put the little letters into the felt. And our sign is the sign with our statement that it's, if you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, we're not interested in your feedback, because we just love that statement. It says it all right there, folks. But also these signs, I just started laughing and telling Liz that people love these signs, and they also change these letters all the time. And these letters are not easy to change. They're like minute and these little nubs don't stick in right. And so these letters are going to stay like this because I'm not changing these letters out. And I got to tell you that when you first get them, it's just a bag of so many letters. And every time I kept grabbing for them, I was getting a lot of X's and Z's. So I was like, is someone just going to make a sleepy sign with a lot of X's and O's?
Who needs those letters?
Exactly. So that's what I got in the box. And even my husband was like, what the fuck is this? Why do we need this sign?
Children's arts and crafts project.
Yeah. I was like, okay. It took 45 minutes to load it.
My God.
Mm-hmm. So that's why it's never getting changed.
That's right.
What did you get this week?
So my what's in the box was a succulent plant. So at the beginning of COVID, when we all found out we'd be working from home for eternity, I decided to spruce up my home office a little bit. And so I got this set of 5 little succulent plants from Amazon with 5 like really cute ceramic pots. And per the description on Amazon, these succulents require little care and are difficult to damage, which is the opposite of me. I require a lot of care and I am easily damaged. However, I have since managed to kill 2 of them. 40% of the succulents are now dead.
I didn't think that those could die.
Yeah, you only have to water them every 2 weeks, and I seem to not even be able to keep up with that. And the worst part is they're on my windowsill. I stare at them pretty much all day. Like I can see them over the top of my laptop. So I know that they require some water. And I'm like, I'll get to that after my next call. I'll get to that after my next call. Or Danny cruises through my office and he goes, your succulents need water.
It's
so I had to get a replacement succulent.
Because Dan and Brian are the green thumbs of our lives.
Exactly.
And you and I are the moldy brown thumbs. I have no idea
and
what
that's
even
why
to
I
call
got
it.
them, because I figured I won't kill these. And yeah, to your point, we're married to like Captain Horticulture and like they're out there tending to their land. It's like, the fuck?
Seriously.
So yeah, so that's what was in the box this week. And it's a really pretty pink one, so I'm going to try really hard to keep it alive.
Cute.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Some of these topics will be a little bit lighter, like our next one.
Yes.
But we do have to bring you the truth in honesty in a lot of the topics because that's what we're here for.
That's right.
And that's what hopefully you guys are here for. But thank you guys for listening. Please remember, if you are feeling frenzied, dig deep for your fabulousness. And we hope you are enjoying this. Please subscribe and rate us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, we are on YouTube and you can subscribe there as well and watch us. It helps people find us, leave comments and or topics that you would like to hear. And please start telling your friends about us because that's how other people can find us and start listening as well. You can find us on all of the socials at Multitasking and Heels. And we hope to see more of you. The other thing Liz and I wanted to let you guys know that our 10,000th listener will be able to pick the topic and join us as a guest and get merch.
Anything goes.
Anything goes. So whoever that may be, if they are willing to come on, we're very excited. So we can't wait to get there. Thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.